Raw tonight was in my backyard. They were in Brooklyn. This was the hangover from SummerSlam. A very busy weekend. First ever two-night SummerSlam. There was a lot going on. Some late nights. We've had some fun here on the channel. Now it all starts all over again. This was the post-SummerSlam edition of Raw at the Barclays Center. And for the most part, a pretty boring episode of Raw. Until we got to the end, and I thought the closing angle on the show was good. It was a very good angle there. I just didn't think the rest of the show was all that interesting in terms of the stories that they did tell. It just was not. It was not a great Raw. But we did have a rare World Heavyweight Championship main event on the show. Seth Rollins in his very first defense of the world title since cashing in his Money in the Bank on Saturday, put the title on the line against the man who I thought was going to Paris for a one-on-one match, the man who beat him on Saturday night's main event when the supposed injury happened, but he pinned him, that being LA Knight. Who else would make sense as the first man to step up and challenge for that title other than LA Knight, who actually has a win over Seth Rollins? And so not only did we get the match, but we didn't have to wait until Paris because Adam Pearce said that he was going to make the match official for tonight. And so that was our main event on the show. Now, of course, Seth Rollins in his first defense of the World Heavyweight Championship wasn't losing that fucking title. So it was just a matter of what angle are they going to shoot? Are we going to see CM Punk run out there and go after Seth? Are we setting up maybe, I thought, for a new member added to this Rollins faction? Because the wrinkle was that Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker were barred from ringside. So they were not allowed out there for the match. And that had me thinking, okay, he didn't say that nobody is allowed at ringside. He just said that those two men specifically are not allowed at ringside. And now I'm thinking, are they going to call somebody up from NXT? Is Drew McIntyre going to migrate over to Monday nights? Are they setting up for something like that at the very end of the show? And that was not the case. It did end with CM Punk attacking Seth Rollins. And so the match got basically thrown out. I don't even know, these days in WWE, things that should be a disqualification, they will sometimes put them up on screen. They'll say no contest. Like when they put the scroll on the bottom of the screen, or you go on WWE.com and look at the results. So I don't know what they're going to call it. It was a disqualification. But CM Punk gets laid out, and yet again for the second night, made to look like a bitch at the hands of Seth Rollins. LA Knight laid out. And they made you think that that's how the show was going to go off the air until we hear Roman Reigns' music. And he comes out. And he attacks Seth's boys. He tries to go after Seth. Even Roman Reigns gets overwhelmed. And when the show is over, Roman Reigns is lying on the mat flat as a pancake because he gets not one, not two, but three tsunami splashes at the hands or the stomach of Bronson Reed. That is their way of seemingly writing him off television so that he can go film his role as Akuma for Street Fighter. But it made Seth's group look completely dominant, which is what you want because the man just won the World Heavyweight title. You know what would have made them look even more dominant is to have them beat Roman and Jay at SummerSlam. It's too bad that didn't happen. But remember what I said, when I was going over the predictions and what might happen at SummerSlam, I said even if the babyfaces go over, what we should get on the following Monday show is an angle where they lay out Roman Reigns and send him off television for a while. And that's what they did. And if he's going away anyway, then it only makes sense that he go away at the hands of these guys. Put more heat on Seth's faction. So I wasn't really surprised that they did that. One thing that I thought was actually quite funny was, first of all, Jey Uso nowhere to be found. He just sort of left his cousin out there to die. Maybe he was so excited from his victory the other night that he celebrated a little too much. Maybe he yeeted himself and he's, sleeping it off. I don't know, but he wasn't there. But what was funny was Bronson Reed, right, last week, stole Roman Reigns' sneakers right off his feet, tied them together, had them around his neck. The Shula Fala. That's how he showed up at SummerSlam. The Shula Fala. And I said during the review, I said, I hope this becomes a thing. I hope that this is not the end of the Shula Fala. Roman didn't take his sneakers back on Saturday. So sure enough, tonight, Bronson Reed shows up and the Shula Fala is still a thing. At the end of the show, he did it again. He stole the shoes. I think they were another pair of Jordans. These were red ones, right off of Roman's feet. He's just going to continue to do that. I want to see him collect like different colors off of this man's feet. He'll have a whole collection. This is his thing. People collect stamps. People collect comic books. He collects sneakers off the feet of Roman Reigns. So he has even more of Roman's personal collection for whatever his sick fetishes may be. And that is how Raw went off the air tonight. And that really was the highlight of the entire show. Now, the question is, how long is Roman going to be gone for? Because you hear, he's going to write him off, right? Oh, he's written off television. And, that makes you think that he's going to be gone for maybe a couple months. I don't think he's going to be gone for very long filming this role. Cody Rhodes has a role in that movie as well. Remember, he's playing Guile. And Cody just won the WWE Championship last night. So I suspect that these guys are only going to have to miss a few weeks, 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. I know they're filming down in Australia. So it's entirely possible that Roman is gone for the rest of the month until we get to Clash in Paris. And they could be setting up for a 6-man tag. We could get Roman, Punk, and LA Knight against Rollins, Breakker, and Bronson Reed. Or, my other thought, and this would make sense because you would want a championship match on that show, is that we end up getting a triple threat match for the World Heavyweight Championship, Seth Rollins defending against CM Punk and LA Knight. LA Knight got fucked over by CM Punk tonight. That's going to be a segment on the show, I'm sure, next week, where LA Knight confronts CM Punk to basically say, hey, what the fuck? You screwed me out of the world title last week. And then they start going back and forth. So if Roman's not going to be back in time for that show, surely we'll end up with a triple threat match. And my guess is LA Knight is in there specifically to be the fall guy, so that Punk could lose again but not have to be pinned by Seth Rollins. That's why LA Knight would be in that match. So that's really the only question. Which one of those two matches are we going to end up getting? We had a segment on the show tonight also with Becky Lynch, fresh off her win over Lyra Valkyria, who can no longer challenge for the Intercontinental title so long as Becky is champion. It's time to move on. She comes out, and I'm watching this, and I have no idea who this next challenger is going to be. I mean, my thought would be Bayley. But other than her, I have no idea who's going to be coming out as the next challenger. And then we hear, you can look, but you can't touch. And out comes Nikki Bella. I said, oh no. Nikki Bella and Becky Lynch now are on a collision course. And they will be having, not official yet, but clearly they're going to be having an Intercontinental title match, possibly in Paris. They set that angle. And I'm watching this, and I'm like, oh, God. And then we hit a certain point in the promo where Becky hit her with a line that was so cold, you would never know that it's August. It was actually a great line. It got a great reaction from the crowd in Brooklyn. So Becky, and Nikki was fine, too, in that segment, but Becky really, hit her with that line that kind of sold the entire promo and then left her laying. They did a show-long angle with Sheamus and Rusev. They wrestled again tonight. Still no resolution. Still no real winner between them. And then various segments aired throughout the entire show where people would be in the back, and all of a sudden the fight continues. And they're just fighting all over the place. So for all the airtime they got on the show tonight, I still feel like they're not getting a PLE match. They'll probably blow this off at a Raw match at some point. These two can't seem to buy their way onto a PLE. And then we had the unfortunate update. The man who lost the World Heavyweight Championship, well, I guess there were two men who lost, but the ring general, Gunther, no longer the World Heavyweight Champion, not on the show tonight, but we did get a medical update on his status. And the rumor going into the show, and I think it was Dave Meltzer who mentioned this, is that Gunther has some sort of nose or nasal injury and he may need time off. And sure enough, the report tonight was, and this is what they're calling it, and this may be legit, but with these injuries they announce on TV, you never know. But the update from Michael Cole was, it is a septal hematoma and an orbital blowout fracture. And they showed highlights of him bleeding from SummerSlam. He had an injury coming into that show. Everything else is just the work. But he is hurt. And I don't know if he's going to need surgery or not, but he's going to be out for a while. And you know what? It's just as well. Because right now what they're trying to do is establish Seth Rollins as the dominant champion on Raw. And I really don't see a place right now for Gunther that really works. Because I to see him down, like pushed down to the middle of the card, it's like, well, then who does he work with? And there's nobody at the moment that really stands out to me. I think the best thing for him would be for him to disappear for a few months and then come back fresh and healthy, and hopefully there will be an opportunity to slot him into a high position on the show, even if it's not for the championship. So that's what I'm hoping for. But it'll suck not having him around because he's one of the best in the entire company. I fucking love that guy. So not having him on the show hurts the show. But again, it's just, he had his run as the champion. This recent run was not that long. But he's been all over the show now for the entire year. So giving him a couple months off is not the worst thing in the world. And then there was Brock Lesnar. Now, anybody wondering if Brock Lesnar was going to be on the show tonight, the answer is no. Because Brock Lesnar is back for John Cena. And John Cena is on SmackDown. So Cena will be on SmackDown in Montreal this Friday. They did announce that Cody will be there as well. They actually said nothing about Brock Lesnar being on the show on Friday night, so I don't know that he'll be there. John Cena obviously will address him in some way. So unless you've been living under a rock, you know that Brock Lesnar made his very surprise return at the end of SummerSlam last night. And he came out and he attacked John Cena. He laid him out with an F5. So the update that we got tonight from Michael Cole, there's been questions about how this all came about. When did this all come about? When and how was the decision made? What they told us on TV tonight was, and I was curious to see how they would explain this, because there were a lot of people throwing all kinds of theories around about, oh, well, this is tied into this and this tied into The Rock and all this stuff, right? How are they going to explain this? Why is he back? Why is he attacking John Cena? There was a very brief period of time later in the show where Michael Cole, they had the announcers on camera. And Michael Cole said that he sat down earlier today with Nick Khan and Triple H. And he asked them the simple question, when was it decided that Brock Lesnar would return to WWE? They told him that they reached out to Brock a few weeks ago and said, it's time for you to come home. And in response to that, Brock Lesnar said, let's do it. And here we are. That's it. There you go. That's the explanation, or at least the television explanation. So for all the people all day long going back to last night who were coming up with all kinds of wacky theories about how The Rock sent him, right? They're still hung up on The Rock being involved here. The Rock sent Brock. It's the only thing that makes sense because John Cena went back to being a babyface and he said horrible things about The Rock on TV last week without naming him. And this is The Rock's revenge, for him doing that and him losing the championship. It has nothing to do with The Rock. They simply said, we went to Brock and said, come on home. And Brock said, pay me and I'll come home. And he's home. So there you go. Doesn't get any lazier than that. I mean, they could have at least tried to come up with some kind of a storyline explanation for it. I mean, the fucking guy's back. Whether you want him back or not, he's back. So they took the easy route when it came to explaining that whole situation. And again, Cena will be on SmackDown Friday night to explain the entire situation. And as far as Brock is concerned, we'll talk more about that, on the podcast. And I'm sure there'll be more that comes out about Brock Lesnar being back in WWE. But again, he was not on the show tonight, so he had nothing to do with Monday Night Raw. We, however, will talk about Monday Night Raw and all that went into this show tonight, because this is your Raw on Netflix review. It is Monday. It is August 4th, 2025. I am the Solomonster. Thank you for joining me on a Monday night. Like and subscribe. Super chats are open. I want to say thank you to the 75,000 plus who tuned into my SummerSlam coverage right here on this channel this weekend. You guys are awesome. We had some fun with the streams. Hopefully we'll have some fun with Be the Booker tonight if we hit our goals. We're looking for a minimum 400 likes on the stream. And if we do that, we'll be doing Be the Booker. And we have another goal going in the chat as well. So if we hit that one, we'll do 2 rounds like we did last night. So get those likes up. Let's go back to the beginning of this show. Raw opened tonight with the new World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins and his crew, Paul Heyman, Braun Breaker, and Bronson Reed, heading down to the ring. Fans in Brooklyn, they sure didn't seem to mind very much that Seth Rollins really put the screws to CM Punk last night, or Saturday night, I should say, because they were cheering these guys as they came down to the ring and they were singing the song. Once the song ended and the segment actually started, there was a CM Punk chant. So it's not like they were against CM Punk, but they didn't seem to mind too much that Seth Rollins was the new world champion. And as I mentioned before, Bronson Reed was still wearing the Shula Fala around his neck. Breaker, by the way, was moving around fine. So I was a little concerned about the knee and how badly did he hurt it? Did he just bruise it? And then he had that wrap around his leg at the end of the show on Saturday night, but he was fine. He was walking fine and moving around fine here. So Paul Heyman addressed the crowd first. He introduced himself as the GOAT. He said that this is the point where he would have normally introduced Roman Reigns, but Heyman said that he hasn't been champion for a year and a half. He said that he would be introducing CM Punk as the champion, perhaps. But Punk wasn't champion long enough to have side plates to put on the belt. He said Punk had one of the greatest title matches with Gunther, and Rollins not only crashed the wedding, he stole the honeymoon with the title, and she was good. Heyman delivered a big introduction for Rollins as the new champion and handed him the learning tree. Shut the fuck up. Handed the tree right to him. Just handed it over to him.
Fuck that tree.
Havili. I usually associate Havili with the learning tree, but Havili, it's good to have you, brother. It's good to hear from you. Missed you last night. So Rollins had the mic, and he yelled, "Brooklyn, shame on you." I yell that every morning when I wake up and step outside. Rollins shamed everyone who turned their back on him after he won the main event at WrestleMania. Shame on everyone who taunted him with chants for CM Punk or chants of OTC. Rollins said the lesson is that people should never doubt him again. He said that he'd been a marked man for months. Shame on not only the fans, but every person in the locker room who made it their mission to stop him from successfully cashing in his Money in the Bank contract. He said everyone backstage thinks they're so smart. He said that he always has a plan B. This plan B was top secret. He only told 2 people in his world, his beautiful Intercontinental Champion wife and his Oracle. And Rollins said they now have achieved absolute power and nobody can stop them. This is the way forward. This is the vision. LA Knight came out. He got into the ring. He congratulated Rollins and Heyman and morons. Knight said that he wasn't there for a fight. He was there to get some answers. And people wonder why, Rollins had to fake an injury when he already had the Money in the Bank contract. Like, why even bother? Why going through the hassle of even doing that? Knight said Rollins faked the injury to avoid Knight's threat of taking his dignity. He reminded Rollins that he was the last person to beat him and said that he would be the next person to beat him. He said that there was no better time and no better place than now. Rollins then played up defending the World Heavyweight Championship tonight. He goes, "You want me? You want me? You want a title match tonight?" He goes, "No." And he dropped the mic. And they left the ring. Him and his crew exited the ring. So then we see Adam Pearce, the Raw general manager. He walks out on stage. He said he normally wouldn't make a world championship match with no promotion, but normally a wrestler wouldn't have his medical team lie to the WWE medical team. Pearce said, "To hell with normal. said that Rollins would defend his championship tonight in Brooklyn against LA Knight. And since Rollins stole a great moment from the fans at SummerSlam, it's only stole a great moment. I mean, I think he gave him a pretty great moment at the end of the show. They didn't sound too bothered by it. When they hit his music and he came out and he threw the crutches down, everybody lost their minds. But he said, in addition to tonight being a championship match, Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed banned from ringside. They will not be allowed to. Paul Heyman, that's okay. But Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, they are banned from ringside. So, kind of bury the lead here. We finally, seemingly, have a name for this group because he really put an emphasis on the vision. And I mentioned on the podcast that on Saturday, WWE filed to trademark the name The Vision, which seemingly would be for this group, you would think. So it's no surprise, no coincidence that tonight Seth Rollins went out there on television and said The Vision. So that appears to be, at least they have a fucking name now. It took 4 months, 5 months for them to come up with a name for this. Plan B, he mentioned Plan B as well. And he was not talking about the drug. If you remember all those many weeks ago on TV, this is before Saturday night's main event, there was a backstage segment, and I was kind of mocking the dialogue. They were at the gorilla position. It was Heyman, Breaker, and Reed, and Rollins wasn't there. Heyman was on the phone, I think, and I think Reed asked him, like, who were you on the phone with? Were you on the phone with the visionary? Like, the dialogue was just so, like, no human being would talk like this. So I was kind of making fun of it, but this is where Heyman had mentioned something about a plan B. And Reed wanted to know, like, what is that? Or Breaker wanted to know. And he wouldn't tell them. So to the point that he made about how only 2 people in the entire world knew about this, his wife and Paul Heyman, they even left out Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. I mean, loose lips sink ships, right, as the old expression goes. So that was the plan B that he was referring to in that segment. And then LA Knight as the next challenger. It's what I've been saying. It makes all the sense in the world. So we had a big world title match set up in the main event of the show. So we were off to a good start, right? You open with the new champion. You set up a world championship main event. We don't get to see too many of those on TV. So far, so good. Then came the rest of the show. Backstage, we had Dominic Mysterio, Finn Balor, JD McDonough, Raquel Rodriguez, and Roxanne Perez. Judgment Day is walking backstage. Dominic was boasting about beating AJ at SummerSlam, and Raquel told Roxanne, hey, we should go regroup. Of course, they lost their tag team titles at SummerSlam. So Dom, Balor, and McDonough, they spotted Dragon Lee, Joaquin Wilde, and Cruz del Toro. Dom asked what they were doing in his hallway, and Dragon Lee challenged him to a match, and Dom accepted. This was not for the title. So that's how we came up with that match for later on in the night. AJ Styles shows up, and the LWO leaves. And Styles said, what Dom did at SummerSlam, loosening the boot. So when, he was trying to put him in the calf crusher, the boot came flying off. He goes, you know what? That was clever. But he was still coming after Dom. He said Dom would run out of tricks and his time was running out. Clash in Paris. You rematch them in Paris. They love AJ Styles in Paris. Remember the last show in France that he was in the main event of? He should hope they have a crowd like the one they had in Lyon, France last year. That crowd is still one of the best crowds probably they've had in years, honestly. Was that Backlash crowd last year. We had match number 3 between Sheamus and Rusev. This was the rubber match, I think, right? Because I think they were 1 win apiece coming into this. The 2 of them traded punches until Sheamus laid out Rusev with a lariat. Sheamus sent him over the top rope, but when he followed, Rusev got the drop on him and sent him into the barricade. Back inside, the 2 hammered on each other from the mat up to the top turnbuckle. Sheamus got Rusev up on his shoulders. He hit white noise from the top rope. The Paris community. The Paris community? AJ's big in that community, man. You'd be surprised. Has a croissant with his breakfast every morning. So Rusev fought back. He took control. He got a sleeper hold applied. He followed that up with some kicks to the chest. Sheamus, though, from his knees, was asking for more. So he got up and hit an Irish curse backbreaker. Sheamus went for a brogue kick. Rusev, though, ducked it. And Sheamus kicked the ropes. Rusev then rammed his head off the ring post, sending Sheamus to the floor. Rusev went after him. Sheamus caught him and slammed him onto the announce desk. Rusev responded by sending Sheamus into the steel steps. And then he dragged him kind of over to the barricade. And he started chopping him until Sheamus reversed it. And actually, he had Rusev on the other side of the barricade. Sheamus was standing on the kind of the interior side. But he had him draped over the barricade. He started doing the 10 beats. And they were out there for so long, the referee counted them both out. So the referee calls for the bell. After the match, the two continued brawling at ringside. Rusev grabbed the top part of the ring steps. He slammed them into Sheamus's head. Rusev then grabbed the shillelagh, but Sheamus hit him with a brogue kick. Here comes security and producers and referees, and they're struggling to keep these two apart. Both men broke free. They continued fighting. The crowd was really into all of the brawl. The match, not so much. They were really into the brawling that came after the match at the end there. But we're 3 matches deep and no closer to a resolution to this than we were when this first started. I'm still waiting for them to make the announcement of a good old-fashioned Donnybrook match or some such stipulation to finish things off. I still don't think they're going to get a PLE match out of this. I mean, you could do that match like in Paris with a stipulation. We'll probably get over. But again, these are mixed PLEs. So you have matches from Raw. You have matches from SmackDown. You have a shitload of different championships, right? And you always want your titles to be defended on those big shows. And Triple H likes his cards tight. Like, he doesn't want to go beyond 5 matches, maybe 6, maybe. I think he had a PLE earlier this year that had 4. Right? Was that Elimination Chamber? I think there was like 4 matches on the show. There's no way. There's no way. There's just no way that they're getting a PLE match out of this. Now, they are going to be on this international tour in a few weeks. So they're going to be doing shows. Is it France? Belgium? I don't remember all the different locations where they're going to be. It's not Belgium. So it'll probably end up being on one of those shows. But for all the matches these two have had, you would think at some point they would end up on like a Clash in Paris or something, but I don't have a lot of high hopes for that. By the way, this was not the last that we would see of these two men on the show tonight. They aired footage from earlier in the day of Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, who were dressed in all black, still mourning their tag team title loss. That was 5 weeks ago that they lost those titles. One can't grieve forever. I'm just saying. I mean, Bret Hart certainly isn't. If you saw those comments he made about Hulk Hogan, Bret Hart he has already moved on. He has already moved on from the death of Hulk Hogan. Woods in particular here was wearing this just ridiculously oversized black hat that was about 15 times the size of probably his whole body. Grayson Waller showed up and questioned where they were last week when he needed them. And Kingston blamed Adam Pearce for not giving them what they deserved. Waller approached Adam Pearce, who just so happened to be standing nearby. He was chatting with Penta. And Waller called for New Day to get another tag team championship match. Pearce said that they could have one when they earn it. And then he booked Waller in a match with Penta. It's a good thing Penta was standing there. He's lucky that Adam Pearce was not standing there having a conversation with Omos. Do they even fly him in for these shows anymore? I know they're paying him. I know he's under contract. Do they even fly him to the arenas? And so it was. Penta, one-on-one with Grayson Waller. I will say, and they pointed this out on commentary, Grayson Waller, he's like kind of shredded. Like physically, he's in the best shape that I've ever seen him in, even going back to the 2.0 NXT days. But there's just nothing going on, like creatively. There's just nothing. And the crowd reacted to this like they were in mourning. right? They were into Penta whenever Penta would go on the offense. But Waller was reluctant to engage with him here at the beginning. Once they got things going, he kind of shimmied out of a waistlock. The two of them traded headlocks. All of a sudden, the New Day's music hits. We're like barely into this match. And the music hits. Out comes the New Day in their funeral outfits. So that caused enough of a distraction for Waller to take over. He sent Penta onto the announce desk outside. Corey Graves invited New Day to join them on commentary. And Kofi Kingston said that the New Day were taking Waller under their wing. At which point, Penta took Waller under his open hand and chopped him in the corner. Waller delivered some high knees. Penta, though, fought back with a bulldog and a backbreaker. He stomped Waller in the corner until Waller delivered a hard left to the face that resulted in a 2 count. Waller climbed to the second rope. He was going to drop an elbow, but Penta dodged it, and he delivered a super kick. Penta won with a Mexican Destroyer. It kind of came out of nowhere. It was very sudden, but I was glad. Like, he hit the Destroyer and he pinned him. That's the way it should be. When you hit somebody with a move like that and you spike them on their head, that should be the end. Especially if you're wrestling Grayson Waller. Like if he was wrestling Seth Rollins, if he was wrestling CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, that might be a different story. Grayson Waller does not need to be kicking out of a Mexican Destroyer by Penta. New Day climbed into the ring. Kingston got in Penta's face. Penta said that he sent Kingston to Woods packing. And then he put on Xavier's comically large hat. I was just watching a match. They uploaded to the Vault last week the cage match between Hulk Hogan and the Big Boss Man from Saturday night's main event. And after that match, Hogan attacked Slick, who had a beret. He was wearing a beret. So he took the beret and he put it on his own head and looked completely ridiculous, but it was funny, but it was just ridiculous. This was far more ridiculous because again, this hat, it completely enveloped his whole body. And then he started doing his little Penta strut. And he took the hat off and he frisbeed it outside the ring back to the New Day. Who is the the Mortal Kombat character with the katana, right? Yeah, he just kind of right out of the ring, right back to Woods. Is Austin Theory hurt? Is he hurt? Because I know that Waller alluded to it in a segment, and I just thought, okay, that's just their way of keeping Theory off TV for a little bit, and they'll set up for an Austin Theory return. I still assume that's the idea here. But Austin Theory, he hasn't wrestled the match in like 3 weeks. You know, so I don't know if there's a legitimate injury there. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the end game is for this. I have to imagine it's Austin Theory coming back and going after Grayson Waller. And who is going to possibly give a shit when they do that match? Like, is anybody going to care? Do you think the crowd, I don't know what city that will be in, but do you actually think the crowd is going to react and give 2 shits about that match when it finally happens? Why would they? They've been given no reason to. So I'm just not sure what the end game is for this. They also need to get Penta involved in something more interesting than this, because whatever this is, this ain't it. I'm glad he got a win. At least they found something to get him onto the show with. But, I mean, come on, man. What the fuck are we doing here with Penta? Really? Is this the best we could come up with for this guy? Can we please get him something better and more meaningful to do, or at least... Doesn't have to be for a championship because I guess that's occupied right now. We already did him and Dom. He's not going to wrestle Seth right now. But for God's sake, like, is this really the best that we can do with this man? I just don't understand. Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair, they were shown walking in the back. They were interrupted, though, by Sheamus and Rusev, who were still fighting. And security chased after them as Sheamus threw Rusev into a stack of pipes that made a lot of noise. They clanged together. So they sent the women's world champion Naomi out on stage to cut a promo during the commercial break. So depending on where in the world you were watching this show, or like me, if you were using your trusty ExpressVPN, you got to see this segment. Naomi comes out on stage. She runs down the state of New Jersey, which is where SummerSlam was, saying that she assumed Brooklyn would be better, but in fact, it's worse. I disagree with that. Comparing us to New Jersey, I mean, that's just, come on now. I mean, I know we're bad, but I mean, we're not that bad. She says too much trash and too much construction for her liking. Now, she's not lying about all the construction. I will say that. She is absolutely 100% right about all the construction. It's just ridiculous. And not just in Brooklyn, all over the city. It's been that way for years. I think they take their time because they get paid really well. And when they finish one project, they're sure as hell going to have another one to do. So everywhere you look, you got scaffolding, you got construction. This lane's closed, that lane's closed. It's a fucking nightmare. So she said, no wonder y'all are coming down to my home state of Florida. She also referred to Stephanie Vicaire as Stephanie Velcro. And then they cut her off in the middle of her promo because they were counting down from the commercial break. They had no choice, but they cut off their women's world champion mid-promo. Actually, I think when they came back, you could kind of hear her a little bit in the background as Michael Cole started to talk. She was still out there. So after this, yes, Stephanie Velcro. All the belts now have Velcro. The women's tag team champions, Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. The new women's tag team champions. They made their way out to the ring next. They got a "You Deserve It" chant. Charlotte acknowledged it and said that might be the first time in her career that she ever got a "You Deserve It" chant. And she thanked the Brooklyn fans for it. Flair said that it felt amazing to be champion again. Bliss said that she thought Flair meant it was amazing for us to be champion. And Charlotte conceded that it was a nice feeling. Bliss thought that she was about to use the F word. Friends. And Charlotte said that Alexa is a pain in her A word. Oh, God. The only thing this was missing was John Cena doing a run-in and saying bologna, fudge, and mustard. So the former champions, Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez, they made their entrance. They joined them in the ring. Raquel said that she understood they may not get a rematch, but she and Perez didn't come out here to not take those titles back tonight. And Flair and Bliss decided to put the titles on the line right then and there. Adam Pearce walks out, and he tells them, all right, take a breath. And he teased the possibility of holding off on the match, but he said, tonight isn't normal. And so we are, in fact, going to have a women's tag team championship match right now. And they sent a referee out to the ring, and so it was. Charlotte and Alexa defending. This was a rematch from SummerSlam, only this time the shoe was on the other foot. Unless you're Roman Reigns, then you have no shoes on your feet. But this time, the Judgment Day were the challengers. They were not the champions. So this was joined already in progress. Perez stomped a mud hole in Charlotte before tagging in Rodriguez. Flair fought back. She tagged in Alexa. The two of them delivered stereo bulldogs, and Bliss and Rodriguez, they fought with Bliss sending Raquel to the floor. She tried a cannonball. Raquel caught her because Alexa is tiny, and then she slammed her down chest first on the top part of the Timekeeper's barricade. Thankfully, it wasn't Nikki Bella in this match, because if it was, then she probably would have had an exploding tit. She was on Busted Open on her show with her sister, talking about how in the match that was it last week, I think, right? She was in a match or 2 weeks ago on TV, and Piper Niven dropped, I think, an elbow, and it either ruptured her implant or it moved. I don't know what you call that. But yes, it was a tit injury. So had that been Nikki Bella here and she got dropped tits first down on top of the barricade, that would have been very bad. That would have been very bad. As Tony Storm say, tits out, chest up. Watch for the shoe. Unless you're Roman Reigns, then there's no shoe. There's no shoe to throw. Anyway, Charlotte, they come back from commercial. Alexa tried to get the hot tag from Charlotte, and Raquel cut her off. Bliss hit a DDT and finally got the tag, bringing Charlotte in off the top rope. She took out both heels. Flair used Perez as a weapon, throwing her at her own partner. Flair went up for a moonsault and landed it on both women, but only got a 2 count on Raquel. Perez caused the distraction so Raquel could deliver a big boot to Charlotte. Perez charged at Charlotte in the corner. She was able to dodge. And they both climbed up to the top. Perez hit a Hurricane Rana. And for the finish here, Flair sent Perez outside, hit a big boot to send Raquel out of the ring as well. Bliss tagged in. She intercepted Perez for a Sister Abigail, and that won it for the champions. The crowd for most of this match was so dead. I thought the New Day had come back out, and they were all mourning together. Like, that's how quiet it was. It was so quiet for this match that on 2 different occasions there near the very end, I could hear the referee, Jessica Carr. She was calling tag spots. So I think she told Raquel to tag Roxanne, like, tag. And then in the other corner, she's telling Charlotte to tag Alexa. Tag her, tag Alexa, tag Alexa. Like, clear as day. Is this what they do every week? People forget to make the tag. Yeah, the referee has to tell you what to do. So just clear as day calling out those spots because it was just stone cold silent for a good chunk of this match here. Not as good as their SummerSlam match either. It was fine. It was a fine match, but the SummerSlam match, I had more fun with that than I did with this one. Io Sky was backstage talking with Asuka and Kairi Sane when Rhea Ripley interrupted, and she said, Io, can I have a word with you? So this was the second time that Asuka has made a snide, I took it as kind of a snide comment, about Io, you're going to go, I'll go off to talk to your friend. So Ripley said she heard Io went to Adam Pearce and asked for a match for the Women's World Championship. And Io pointed out that I wasn't the one who got pinned at SummerSlam. So Ripley said there's nothing she would like to do more than finally be able to beat Io and take the title from her. Ripley went to go leave. Io stopped her and told her, "You will never beat me." And she smiled in her face. This is one of those consistent things now on the show where Io Sky is always reminding Rhea Ripley, you've never beaten me and you are never going to beat me. And then she smiles in her face and she walks away. I enjoy that. I greatly enjoy, and it's a fact too. Rhea has never beaten Io Sky. But how long before Asuka suggests that Io go tag up with your friend and we get a tag team match? Rhea Ripley and Io Sky against Asuka and Kairi Sane, right? It's got to be coming. I don't know when, but I think, look, Rhea Ripley, I don't believe, is going to be challenging for that championship again until October. That's when they go to Australia. There she is. No, that's the other Bella. But that's when they go to Australia. So in the meantime, it's like, well, what do you do, right? What do you do with Rhea Ripley? If she's not going to be challenging for the title right away, you want to get her on the show. I could see them doing that tag match on like a Clash in Paris. Sure. Why not? Elsewhere backstage, Bayley was looking for Lyra Valkyria. She was looking to apologize to her after what happened at SummerSlam. She found her, and Lyra was in no mood to hear her excuses. Lyra said she screwed things up for Bayley, who now screwed things up for her. Valkyria said that they're not good for one another. She said that we're not friends, but we're not enemies. And she told Bayley to stay out of her life forever. Now, for a second there, she also made this comment that she has to kind of get out of the Bayley vortex. And for a moment there, I thought she was about to tell Bayley that I went to Adam Pearce to request a trade to SmackDown, and they were going to move her to the other show, but they stopped short of doing that. After this, it was Dominic Mysterio against Dragon Lee. They promoted the fact that both men are part of the four-way match for the AAA Mega Championship at Triple Mania, which is a week from Saturday. They're 2 of the 4 in that match. Mysterio came down to the ring, and as soon as Dom came down, they went to a commercial. When they came back from commercial, Michael Cole said that next year's SummerSlam in Minneapolis was sure to be fire, which is not something that I want to hear Michael Cole say ever again. Like, he needs to not do that. So Dragon Lee wasted no time in sending Mysterio outside, dragging him back in and pummeling him in the corner. Dom made a comeback, hit a DDT on the apron as the show went to another commercial. Late in the match, El Grande Americano appeared. And then another Grande Americano appeared. And then a third Grande Americano appeared. Boy, they're reproducing fast. So that was enough of a distraction for Mysterio to get a shot in on Dragon Lee from behind and to pin him while grabbing the bottom rope for leverage. I don't know how the referee didn't see this. I mean, it was practically right in front of the referee. But then Dom got the pin and he won the match. And after the match was over, AJ Styles came out to beat up Dom, but Dom bolted. El Grande Americano also in that four-way coming up at Triple Mania. We just don't know if it's going to be Grande Kaiser. Is it going to be Grande Pete Dunne? I don't know who the third one was. I didn't really get a good look at their face. So I assume it will be Kaiser, though. Backstage, Sami Zayn. This was something else I was interested in. Coming into the show, I was wondering, are we going to get Karrion Kross on this show? There's been a lot of talk about his future, his contract status. Is he staying? Is he leaving? My vibe, my feeling, my gut coming out of SummerSlam was he's done. It just felt like the end of Karrion Kross. And then, of course, if you missed it, on the post-show, Triple H is sitting out there with the post-show panel. It's their new way of doing these things now because, you know, they want to avoid any questions about you-know-who. So now we're going to do it a little bit differently. So he's out there on the panel, and they're in the parking lot at MetLife Stadium, so you can see and hear all the fans behind them. And this happened when I was live on YouTube, and I had people telling me in the chat what happened, so I went back to watch it, you know, after the fact. And you can hear the people go, "We want Kross. We want Kross. We want Kross," right? And Triple H turns around to kind of listen and acknowledge them and goes, "You want Brock? Yeah, you got him. You want Brock? You got him." And I'm like, "You stupid motherfucker." Like, what a fucking shitty thing, right, to do. So then Kross quote tweets the clip, and I don't have the exact tweet that he wrote in front of me, but it was something to the effect of, you know, they write the scripts, the fans write the truth. Like, he was like, this is unbelievable. This is ridiculous. And I saw Braun Strowman actually left a comment underneath Kross's tweet saying something to the effect of that they don't give a shit about the fans. They don't care. And then he's mentioning they just care about like Nepo babies and family members. I don't know if he was referring to all the Samoans in the company. I don't know what he was referring to there. So that was a little weird. But I was wondering, okay, they had a match at SummerSlam with Karrion Kross and Sami Zayn. And the stipulation was that if Kross won, Sami would have to admit that Kross was right about him, that he is just like everybody else. He's got a dark side. But if Sami won, which he did, Kross would have to admit that he was wrong about Sami. When their match was over, nobody got on the mic and said anything. Kross did not get on the mic. He didn't, you know, they didn't put the camera on him and he said to Sami, "I was wrong, you were right." So I'm like, all right, well, this feels like Kross is either done or about to be done, but maybe he'll be on Raw Monday night, right? And he'll say those words. Never mentioned, never shown, nowhere to be found here on this show. But we have Sami Zayn, and he's being interviewed about his match against Kross at SummerSlam. So, I mean, he was mentioned here. Sami rejected a steel pipe in the match and admitted, though, part of him wanted to use it. But in the end, it's just not who he is. He says, "I want to be a world champion. I know I'm going to be a world champion, but I'm going to do it the right way." Sheamus and Rusev, they suddenly appear. Out of nowhere, they're still brawling. How inept are these officials and these security geeks backstage? They have been fighting all night long, and they still can't stop them. Does nobody have a taser? Do they have a net they can drop on these men? The most inept, absolutely inept group in the world are the security people that they bring in to staff these shows every single week. These men are still fighting. And Sami gets caught in the middle of this, but WWE didn't really give a shit, so they just switched to footage of Becky Lynch entering the building. And I'm watching this, and I'm like, you know what? On second thought, the whole good old-fashioned Donnybrook stipulation, like, no. This needs to be a falls count anywhere in the building match. Like, when we get the rematch between Sheamus and Rusev, falls count anywhere in the building, let them run amok. Let them go from the ring to the crowd, from the crowd to the stage, from the stage to the gorilla position, from the gorilla position to catering, from catering to the bathroom, and everywhere in between. Have fun with it. Let them go wild. Remember Rockin' Mankind, empty arena? They were brawling all over the place. I want them to hit every fucking room in that building. That's the stipulation that you go with for this match. And by the way, they've already announced that Sami is going to be wrestling Rusev. Next Monday night, they're going to be in Quebec City. Sami's home country. Flying the Canadian flag. They're going to be there next week. Why Sami and Rusev? I mean, Sheamus bumped into him too. Apparently, he only blames Rusev for this. But as far as Karrion Kross, I mean, look, could it be some kind of angle? There's always that possibility. It just feels to me like we've reached the end. We've reached the end. Like, he lost to Sami. They didn't even honor the stipulation that they laid out. Not even seen on the show tonight. So, feels to me like he's done. And again, I don't really think that any of the matches they had, they didn't do him any favors. His character work, some of the promo work, some of the stuff he does on his own social media is great. Once the bell rings, as far as the matches that the two of them had, they were among the worst matches that Sami Zayn has had all year. They just didn't jive together. Right? We've seen Sami in the ring with so many different people. Of course, with Kevin Owens, they always have great matches. They had that unsanctioned match at Elimination Chamber. But Sami is one of the best they have, bell to bell in the ring. And these matches, they were there. They were just matches. So I don't know what WWE was looking for out of Kross. I don't think he did himself any favors as far as any of those matches are concerned. I do still feel like there's a spot for him. He's got an interesting persona. There is still more you can do with him. I don't know if WWE feels the same way. But the feeling I have after this weekend is that he's probably done or finishing up. But nobody is talking. WWE hasn't said anything. Kross is keeping very quiet about it, so we don't know. We'll have to just wait and see. The Women's Intercontinental Champion, Becky Lynch, made her way to the ring to her new song by the Wonder Years. I'm still waiting for this thing to hit Spotify. I know it just debuted. How long does it normally take? Sounds like I like the song. I like the song. I like the fact that it's not Def Rebel. They changed her music, and it's not Def Rebel. That's automatically a thumbs up. So Becky said that she plans on being the champion for a very long time, much to Lyra's dismay, because Lyra cannot challenge for the title so long as Becky is the champion. All of a sudden, Nikki Bella's music hits, and I'm like, oh no. So Nikki Bella comes down to the ring. She says she was listening to Becky in the back, and everything she said was right. She remembers when Becky started out, she knew it would be okay for her to step away from WWE because the women's division was in good hands. But Becky turned out to be such a disappointment. She stabbed everyone in the back and handcuffed a generation of talent. This is the best the division has ever been, but why did Becky come back? I mean, that's why Nikki came back, but why did Becky come back? Was she really that jealous, or was Hollywood not what she thought it would be? So Becky points out that right now she's actually featured in the hottest movie in America, Happy Gilmore 2. She remembers seeing Nikki on set, because Nikki was actually in the movie. I haven't seen it yet. I think Nikki is on camera briefly, but she had like a speaking role. Apparently it got cut. So she was very upset about that. So that is a legitimate story. So they incorporated that into the promo here. And she said, I can remember seeing you on set, but then your role got cut. basically at Becky's behest. She took credit for, I guess, going to the director and getting Nikki's role cut from the movie. So Nikki says that Becky is a liar just like her husband. The difference is that we bought Seth's BS and not hers. And Becky tells her, don't talk about me and my husband, my hot husband. We are the greatest wrestling couple of all time, she says. I think Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth would have something to say about that. But she says they're the greatest wrestling couple of all time. At one point, that would have been Nikki and her. Oh, she says that she can't see him anymore. And the fans in Brooklyn, like that line got over huge. They even did like a wide shot and they panned out just to show the crowd. So that line was like the nuke that Becky dropped on her here in this promo. And it got over great. It worked very well. It was very effective. So Becky says that she came up to the main roster to combat Nikki's era. You believe that was 10 years ago? 10 years ago. 2015 is when they called up Becky and Charlotte and Sasha. Because Bayley came, I think, later, right? That was the following year. But that was 2015, the whole women's revolution and calling up new women from NXT. And, the WWE icon, Stephanie McMahon, taking credit for the women's revolution. 10 years have gone by. That's crazy. So Nikki then challenged Becky to a match for her Intercontinental title. Nikki then led a yes chant. Becky says, the reason that they never went one-on-one before is because, and then before she could finish her sentence, Becky sucker punched Nikki and left her laying. I thought the promo was sort of just kind of there. It was kind of, limping along until we got into the back and forth insults. And then Becky hit that line. And that line made the entire promo. Nikki did what she had to do, but that line was just cold as a block of ice. And it got over great. And look, you have here two veteran talents. And yes, Nikki Bella is a veteran talent. I'm not saying she's the greatest of all time, but she was there for a number of years and she won the championship. And now she's she's the veteran. She's in the legend role, in this women's division now. The Bellas are in the Hall of Fame, right? Yes, a Hall of Famer. So that's the role that she's in. So you have these two veteran performers now who are fighting over the Intercontinental title. So it helps the status of the title. But I also feel like this should be a one and done. Obviously, they're going to probably do this in Paris. But it should be a one and done because the goal should be to help more people, to help elevate more people like Lyra Valkyria. I think it was very effective what they did with Lyra. Now they should try to replicate that with other people. And to do that, you have to call people up or move people over from SmackDown because I took a look at the current women's roster on Monday Night Raw. And I was struggling to come up with who would be better in that spot right now. You can go back to Becky and Bayley. But again, Nikki Bella doesn't need this. Bayley doesn't need this. So who would really benefit from being in that spot? Stephanie Vaquer is already challenging for the women's world title. Frankly, she's above this. I mean, she should be challenging for the world title. But you could certainly do that. I don't see her beating Naomi. So if Stephanie doesn't win in Paris and she comes out of that a loser, I mean, Becky and Stephanie would be fucking great. I would love to see Becky and Stephanie fighting over the Intercontinental Championship. I think that would be, as Michael Cole would say, fire. That would be great. But when I look at the rest of the roster, you have Ivy Nile, and you have Natty, and you have Maxine, and you have Rhea and Io, who are involved with the world title. You've got Asuka, you've got Kairi. I'm probably missing a couple, but again, nobody really stood out to me. So I feel like you need to call somebody new up or move somebody over, but get them someone who could really benefit from working with Becky and challenging for a championship. They've done overall a much better job of really highlighting the Intercontinental title and having some names involved in trying to help elevate that title, more so than what they've done with the U.S. title on SmackDown. They've done a much better job on Raw. I hope that changes very soon. For Julia's sake, I hope that changes very soon over on SmackDown. But yeah, the Nikki Bella thing, as a one-off, it's fine. I don't, need to see this dragged out for months and months like they did with Becky and Lyra, though. So backstage, Byron Saxton interviewed the women's world champion. There she is. I was wondering if they were going to keep her to that fucking commercial promo and not actually have her on the damn show. But Naomi was here. And he asked her how she feels about her SummerSlam win, and she said, great. She also mentioned that next week on Raw, she is going to be defending her championship against Io Sky. Stephanie Vicaire wandered on in and said that she would beat either Naomi or Io in Paris. Doesn't matter who. We got to see Stephanie for like 10 seconds on this show. This is unacceptable. That's not enough Stephanie Vicaire on this show. But hey, she had a match with Ivy Nile on the main event taping before Raw. But we got her for 10 seconds in the back here on this show. Unacceptable. Becky Lynch was walking backstage when she was approached by Natalya and Maxine Dupree. Tozawa was there as well. Natty was very upset. She said, I used to be friends with you. You and me used to be friends, but what you did to Nikki Bella was wrong. And she challenged Becky to a match for next week, and Becky accepted, but said, not against you, against her. So next week, it's going to be Becky Lynch against Maxine Dupree. To the point that I just made, right? That's going to be a one-off match. It's not going to be a whole feud. But honestly, those are the types of people that could really benefit from being able to work with someone like Becky Lynch. I don't know how much time they're going to give that match. I don't know how good the match is going to be. It could be a quick thing that, leads to Becky and Natty the following week. That would be my guess. We're getting Becky and Maxine first, and then we'll get Becky and Natty. You know what we need on WWE television? We need Bloodsport Natty. Natty's been doing this thing where she's had some matches in Bloodsport and on the indies. She comes out with like her own posse of fucking trainers and people with her, and she, her attire is different, her whole style is different. And it works. It works for her. How come we can't get that Natty on Raw? Can we get Bloodsport Natty on this show? Put her in the ring with Becky for the Intercontinental title? I'd be down for that. The main event was for the World Heavyweight Championship. It was Seth Rollins, his very first defense of this championship since what they are calling the ruse of the century, right? 10 years ago, it was the heist of the century. Now it was the ruse of the century, even though a lot of people were not really surprised by what happened. But just the way they pulled it off, right? We pulled the wool over everyone's eyes. Except this guy here. So he defended it against LA Knight. Rollins charged Knight, who sent him over the top rope outside. Rollins staggered away, using Paul Heyman as a human shield when Knight came over. Knight bounced Rollins' head off the announce desk, and they went to a commercial break pretty early into this. Oh, Fight Pit. Yeah, Ben in the chat says Fight Pit. There you go. A women's Fight Pit match between Bloodsport Natty and Becky Lynch. That works. Later on, Rollins climbed up top. Knight, though, raced up there as well. Hit a superplex for a 2 count. Rollins tried a buckle bomb. Knight reversed it into a Death Valley driver. Rollins tried a curb stomp and a pedigree, but he missed both of them, which led to a DDT from Knight. Knight hit his top rope elbow, where he leaps from the second rope to the top rope, drops the elbow. After that, Rollins bailed out to the floor. So Knight came flying through the ropes with a kind of like a baseball slide drop kick, sent Rollins into the announce table. He went to go pick him back up. Rollins, though, headbutted Knight right in the junk, and he went down to the ground. He then tossed Knight into the ring post. He pulled up some of the padding outside, like it was WrestleMania 3. Remember Hogan pulled up the padding against Andre, and Andre gave him that horrific backdrop. It was the, like a slow-moving glacier. It was the slowest moving backdrop that and the safest that I have ever seen in my life. It's another match I watched recently. Legendary match, but my goodness. It was painful. I felt bad for Andre watching that match. Every movement felt like it hurt. So he exposed the concrete underneath the floor by pulling up some of the padding. And he's setting up to give this man a stomp on the concrete. Out of the crowd, though, we hear this noise in the background. We can't see who it is, but somebody is coming out. And out of the crowd comes CM Punk, that sore loser. And he jumps the barricade. He attacks Seth Rollins. The referee calls for the disqualification, or in WWE, probably a no contest. But it's a DQ. Rollins tried to leave. Punk followed until Braun Breaker, because now the match is over. So Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed are no longer banned from ringside. So Braun Breaker comes flying through the air with a spear. And he takes down CM Punk in the aisle. Bronson Reed arrives. He takes out LA Knight. So in the ring, Breaker spears Knight for good measure. And then Rollins hits a stomp on Punk. So both men are left laying here. Reed, Breaker, and Rollins, they exit the ring. They put the credits up on the screen, right? Paul Levesque, Lee Fitting. They want you to think the show is over. But then we hear Roman Reigns' music. And everybody in Brooklyn, they were probably not expecting Roman Reigns on this show. Jey Uso, probably. But not Roman Reigns. So everybody is going nuts. He comes out. He cleans house. He takes out Breaker and Reed. Rollins is standing in the ring. Reigns is in the aisle looking at him. They lock eyes. And Reigns is stalking towards him. Seth, though, bails as soon as he hits the ring. Breaker tried to catch Reigns from behind, but he was intercepted, leaving Roman open to an attack from Bronson Reed. And then he got stomped by Seth Rollins. So Roman ended up eating a spear. They picked him up and held him, and Braun ran the ropes, and he speared Roman Reigns. Then they held Roman down for a tsunami splash by Bronson Reed. Not one tsunami splash, but two tsunami splashes. So Adam Pearce hits the ring. Various producers who have failed all night long to stop Sheamus and Rusev from fighting. So what makes you think they're going to be effective here? So they hit the ring and trying to break things up. Reed ended up pancaking Roman with a third tsunami. And the show ended with the Vision standing tall. So that's their way of sending Roman off to go film Street Fighter. He's a free man now. He can go fly down and shoot his movie. The main event, it was all right. You knew there was going to be some kind of a fuck finish here. So the match was okay, and then we got the inevitable DQ finish here. Question really now is how long is Roman going to be out for? Because we're either going to get a triple threat title match or we're going to get some kind of a tag team match. Now, they could have Jey Uso in that. And I don't know why Jey Uso is not on the show. It's entirely possible that he was left off specifically because he will be opening the show next week to talk about what happened to his cousin and looking for revenge. So maybe the tag match is Jey Uso and CM Punk and LA Knight against all three members of the Vision, right? That's a possibility as well. And Roman just, stays out for an indefinite period of time. Maybe we'll see him closer to Survivor Series. So that's always a possibility. I don't know. I'm inclined to say we're going to get a title match, that it will end up being a triple threat, because at the end of the show, when Adam Pearce came into the ring, he and Rollins got face to face, and Pearce did not look happy. And I could see him just, saying, look, you think you run this place. You don't. I do. And so now you're going to defend your title against not just one person, but two people. And that's how we get the triple threat. LA Knight is in there just to take the losing fall so that CM Punk doesn't have to again. That's where I tend to fall on this. But it all depends on when they get Roman Reigns back. As far as the overall thoughts on this show, it was a good closing angle. There were some very select moments on this show that I liked. The Becky line being one of them. Actually, I forgot to mention the other thing I liked, which is that Bronson Reed, yet again, stole Roman's shoes. He's a shoe thief. So now he's got another pair of kicks that he will be hopefully carrying around with him every single week on TV. This needs to be a recurring thing. But as far as the rest of the show, I was mostly bored by the show. This was not a great episode of Raw. This was one of those weeks of Raw where it's like, it's kind of a slog to get through, but the closing angle at least was good. And it was very odd too, because these fans in Brooklyn, here in New York, are usually very vocal, and they were pretty dead for large stretches of the show, especially during that women's tag team match. And that wasn't the only one, but it was really noticeable there. Again, when I can hear the referee calling spots to the wrestlers. So that was kind of a recurring thing throughout the show. Just not for all the stories they were telling, this was not a great episode of Raw. What did you think of Raw from Brooklyn? We're doing the grading system now. 23% give this show a thumbs. See, I'm still stuck on the thumbs. 23% gave this show an A. 38% gave this show a B. 26% a C. And 13% give this show a D. Yeah, I'm somewhere between B and C. That's what I would give Raw. That sounds about right. Now we wait for SmackDown. Again, John Cena will be on SmackDown. He's got 9 appearances left. After this, it'll be 8. And I think maybe 4 of them are actual US dates. And he's done. At that point, he's retired. So we don't have a whole lot of John Cena left. One would assume the match for Paris is going to be John Cena and Brock Lesnar. I would think that we'll get clarification on that, though, on Friday night. I don't know if Brock will be there. He should be. He should be there. But I don't know if he will be there. Let's take a look at your super chats. Thank you, as always, for all the support this weekend, all the SummerSlam streams. You guys were awesome. And tonight as well. We may not be doing double Be the Booker, but we are going to do Be the Booker. For 485 likes. Let's see if we can get that up to 500. I want to see 500 minimum. We hit 500, we do Be the Booker. That's how we're going to do it. JDF VA, thank you for the super chat. Dried Chicken is with us. Says next month will be the 30-year anniversary of the opening of WCW Monday Nitro. That's true, 1995. 1995, man. 30 years since Nitro. Where's the time go? Still the coolest shit to go back and watch, man. That whole Monday Night War period. Aaron says, why is Roxanne always taking pins? I feel like she should be built up for the Liv feud. It almost seems like they are trying to protect Raquel. They should. Raquel is the enforcer of that team. Would you rather Raquel be the one taking pins in these matches? Roxanne could take the pins. She'll be fine. When Liv comes back, like, her taking pins in these matches is not going to affect people's perception of her once Liv Morgan comes back. They could just pick up with that storyline, pick up with that feud. She should be eating pins in these matches. Raquel should be the one who should be protected as much as possible. Then maybe they can actually build her into something. I could see her having a singles run, maybe as Intercontinental Champion at some point. Death Scythe says, Jeff Hardy in an interview has expressed interest in a dream match with Roman Reigns before his retirement. And I hope we get the match, but I think Jeff has one more big singles run left in him. You know, he's been talking about that match for years. So he's still talking about it, huh? I don't know, man. Roman wrestles so seldomly. I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to happen, man. Antonio Taylor. There's a report going around saying that there's going to be more PLEs that will be 2 nights in 2027. I've been saying this now for like a year. I don't need reports to tell me that. I've been telling you guys. I was probably one of the first to be really talking about this when they first started talking about expanding SummerSlam to 2 nights. That the Rumble would be next, and then Money in the Bank. Everyone's like, oh, Survivor Series will be 2 nights. It might be, but Money in the Bank is going to go 2 nights as well. It's inevitable. Rumble is next, Money in the Bank, and then maybe Survivor Series. And if all that goes well, Elimination Chamber. Everything that has, like, Elimination Chamber, you have a men's and a women's match. Survivor Series, you have a men's and a women's War Games. You have a men's Rumble and a women's Rumble, right? It's the easiest thing in the world. Men's Money in the Bank, women's Money in the Bank. Where they can make money, they will separate them. This will become the norm. Within the next 3 years, this will become the norm. I don't need a report to tell me that. Joseph Stewart says, if WCW was still around, which current WWE wrestlers would be wrestling in WCW right now? I have no clue. I mean, that's such a what if. It's just impossible. It's impossible to answer. I have no idea. A bunch of them would be, though, right? You'd have some people bouncing back and forth. Also, how would you have booked the split of the NWO between Hollywood Hogan and Kevin Nash? Probably better than they did. Right? Have Nash lead the Wolfpack, Hogan lead Hollywood, and really go all in on that angle. I don't even remember what they did with the two of them. It wasn't very good. It wasn't very memorable. You know, but it's all about having the right members in each group and not overloading it with jabronis. But Hogan was never gonna do business. Like, to go back and forth maybe and trade a bunch of wins with Nash and it was never going to happen. It was never going to happen. Like, his ego would not allow it. Joseph also says, with better booking, do you think Diesel would have been a successful WWE champion and face of the company in 1995? Go take a look at what they did with Diesel at the very end of 95, beginning of 96. If we got that version of Diesel, he would have been a much bigger success as the champion. You go back and look at what they did with him at the tail end there, there's your answer. I mean, it's right there. Let me see if we're still on the we are still in the early ones here. Yeah, we're almost caught up. Arabian Night says, after SummerSlam and the post-scrum, hashtag we want cross. Chance during Triple H's interview being ignored in absence. He is gone, sadly. Per Fightful, his deal is up this week. Yeah, I mean, it looks like he's done. I mean, I said that after he lost to Sami this weekend. Tonight, to me, just solidified it. He's done. Joseph says, if Ric Flair didn't leave WWE in late 1992, who do you think he would have wrestled at WrestleMania 9? Mr. Perfect. I don't think they would have blown that off on Raw. I think we would have gotten a Flair Perfect match at WrestleMania instead of Perfect and Lex Luger. Death Scythe. I was thinking, what if Obafemi ends up being John Cena's final opponent? It could be like Cena's first match against Kurt Angle. It accomplishes two things. It creates a star in one night, and Cena gets his final farewell. Well, I mean, if they wanted to strap the rocket to Obafemi, I mean, that'd be a hell of a way for him to debut. Would have to be as a heel, though. I don't hate the idea. I don't hate the idea. I still want to see Cena and Gunther, though. I like the idea of Gunther as his final opponent, but if they were going to try to create somebody new, then that works. We got Nico Feliciano. Says, we see so many pull-apart brawls these days. At least the one between Rusev and Sheamus was threaded throughout, comical as it was. I mean, it was a story they told throughout the show, right? Which is good. Instead of getting one segment, they got like 3 or 4 of them on the show, which is more than they usually get. Those two guys usually get on the show in most weeks. Dried Chicken says, I wish Shawn Michaels was head. They updated this look here, and I have to resize this because part of it's being cut off. So I'll take care of that when we're done. Dried Chicken said, why did they change these things? Why can't you just leave it alone? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Why must Windows is the same thing. Every time there's a Windows update, I hold my breath. And they force you into them now. You don't even have the option to opt out of these updates. Like, if you just delay it one day, like if you leave, like you put your computer in sleep mode overnight, bunch of shit's open, you wake up the next morning, it's like, ah, fuck. It rebooted. Dried Chicken says, God. What happened here? Hold on a second. Where did he go? I don't know where he went. Hold on. Son of a bitch. I wish Shawn Michaels was head booker of WWE. You'd be getting a lot more women's segments if he was. Even more than we get now. We get a lot of them now, but you'd be getting even more of them. Death Scythe. What did Princess Peach say to Sonic in an unsatisfied tone after sleeping with him? Well, you're certainly faster than Mario. Man, why are we burying Mario here? What did Mario do? You didn't have to bury him like that. The Big Fundamental Tim Duncan, King of Queens is a great show. I've seen clips. I've never actually watched a full season of the show, so I mean it looks funny. I just never really got into it. Nico Feliciano. The end of the show was very hot as well. By the way, am I the only one who thought about that scene from Scary Movie 3 and the expanding hat? I assume that means, again, it's cut off. I assume that means hat. It could be fat. The expanding fat. The expanding fat with Xavier. Expanding hat. I think you might be the only one. I don't even know if I saw Scary Movie 3. How many of them have they done? I think they've done 5 or 6 of them, right? I don't even remember if I saw that one. Terrible Dried Chicken. Nice shirt, Solo. I shall call you Salmon Monster. Well, I have a suit that's in this color as well. I have my salmon suit. Ah, you're right. He was burying Sonic, not Mario. I guess Sonic was being buried there. Oh, I misread that one, didn't I? Boy, that puts things in perspective for me with the things that anyway. All right, Nico, thank you very much. Nico's got another one here. It says, I watched the first Raw on Netflix review, and you said Hogan getting booed was segment of the year. But after Hogan's death, you still prefer him not there, even if you loved the segment at the time. I greatly enjoyed that segment, actually. It's not the segment of the year. But yes, at the time, I was quite tickled by that segment. Especially as he was out there trying to hawk his beer, and the people just were not having it. They were just not having any of it. Now I just find it sad that the last appearance for this great star that once led this company to great prosperity And the last time we ever saw him on television on this show, he was being booed. He got himself booed. I find that very sad. It's a very sad situation. Havili says, thoughts on Shawn Michaels' interview with The Undertaker. And they talk about how BSK gave the Click and Undertaker finally admitted that he was going to beat up HBK at WrestleMania 14. Yeah, I saw that segment. I didn't watch the entire thing. I don't enjoy those Undertaker shows as much now as I did before. He used to have his own podcast. It was independent of WWE. And he had a different co-host, this guy Matt. Now, WWE has taken over. They kicked Matt out. I don't know what the hell happened to him. And now it's Undertaker and his wife. He's got Michelle with him. And I just feel like there are certain stories that he probably will not want to tell with his wife sitting right there. It's not the same. It's just not the same. But that segment I did watch because they were cutting it up into clips. He's admitted it before. It's just that what he was doing was talking about how when Shawn Michaels had asked him about that story previously, he denied it. And he felt bad about lying to him, but he felt like, man, you and I were in such a bad place where, not bad place, but like we weren't exactly friends back in the day. And now we're like, we have a really good friendship and a really good relationship. And I just didn't want to admit to you that if you didn't do business that night at WrestleMania 14, he was backstage in Gorilla taping up his fist, ready to do what needed to be done. But he admits that, in fact, yes, that's exactly what he was doing. Favorite SummerSlam in New York or New Jersey? I think they've only done 2 summers. No. Wait a minute. Where was 89? 89 was in New Jersey, right? Okay, yes. So I think they've had 3 SummerSlams in New Jersey. 89, 97, and this one. Favorites? Oh boy. I really like that main event in 97. But I'm going to say favorite SummerSlam in New Jersey is 89. Favorite SummerSlam in New York is 91. 89 to 91 for me. Nico said, is the Brooklyn crowd better than Chicago? Says, I'm from Brooklyn. Of course. Brooklyn's always better than Chicago. Come on. The Brooklyn crowd was definitely not better than Chicago tonight. They were actually very quiet for most of the show tonight. But they didn't exactly get the most exciting show. Can't just blame Brooklyn for that. Now, look, I mean, Chicago has usually some of the best wrestling crowds in the entire world. I gotta give props to Chicago. When it comes to wrestling crowds, they're pretty much right there at the top of the list. Duff's Vids, what did the stamp say to the envelope? Let's stick together and we'll go places together. Thank you, Duffs. Let's stick together. Also, my grandma said that she hates her new stair lift. She says it's driving her up a wall. It's actually a chair lift. Not to be that guy and correct you, but... Libido Bell. Buy, sell, rent. Jey Uso mid-card title run with manager Rikishi. The Shelton Benjamin Mama gimmick. Sheamus world title run or a new AEW game in the style of... Just disappeared off my screen. I hate this new format. This is not gonna work. It just disappeared. In mid super chat, it disappeared. Now I have to go find it again. Here we go. God damn it. There we go. All right, so actually what it said was a new AEW game in the style of the Midway WrestleMania arcade game. Oh, I'll take that. That was a great game. Yeah, I'll take a game. I'll buy on a game in that format. And if I had a rent, I'd rent on a Sheamus World Title run, and I'll sell on a Jey Uso mid-card title run with Rikishi as his manager. I don't think anybody is asking for that. Libido Bell says Baron and Bruno is the team I never knew I wanted. Yeah, that was in Be the Booker the other night. We had Baron Corbin, actually bum-ass Corbin, and Bruno Sammartino were paired up as a team. Also, give us an Americano faction. America NWO. Well, we're well on our way. We already have 3 of them. When Gable comes back, we'll have 4. Dried Chicken, I know who can cheer up New Day. Wednesday Addams. Duff's Vids, what's a snowman's favorite game? Freeze tag. Number 1, Homo sapien. Why couldn't the sesame seed leave the casino? He was on a roll. He was on a roll. That's better than the freeze tag one, Duffs. Gotta up your game. Duff says, what's the fastest living animal on land? I don't know the answer to this because it's cut off. You're going to have to tell me. I assume that says Ethiopian, though, right? An Ethiopian chicken. The fastest living animal on land. If that is what I think it is, I think that says an Ethiopian chicken. Death Scythe. Buy, sell, rent on which WrestleMania match was bigger? Waste of time. Fandango and Jericho at WrestleMania 29. Angle and Corbin at WrestleMania 35. Cena Theory at WrestleMania 39. Oh, so those are the 3 options. The bigger waste of time? I mean, they all kind of fit that bill. I'll go Fandango and Jericho, though. Like, Angle Corbin, it was Angle's retirement match, and the idea was they had been interacting on TV. And Vince said, if you're going to wrestle, it's got to be against him, right? Because they were sort of kind of pushing him, right? So it's like, okay, fine. Cena Theory, same thing. It's like John Cena, the idea is that he puts over a younger talent. It didn't work, right? Cena lost to him, and they did nothing in the follow-up with Theory. So that was a gigantic waste. As far as a WrestleMania match, though, like just as the match, as a match itself, Fandango and Jericho was a waste of time. If you want to expand that and say what was the overall bigger waste, the bigger waste was wasting a John Cena win at WrestleMania. So actually, I changed my answer. I'll change my answer and say they wasted a John Cena win. Like beating John Cena, a win over John Cena, they wasted it. They wasted it on Austin Theory. You talk about a waste, that's a waste. And the matches that should have been Jericho Taker, WrestleMania 29. So Cena Angle at WrestleMania 35. And Cena LA Knight at WrestleMania 39. I don't really want to see any of those matches at WrestleMania. But I'll go Jericho Taker, I guess. Of those options that you gave. Jeremy Rose, Nikki's gotta go. If she beats Becky for the IC belt, God forbid that belt will lose all of its prestige. Becky is trying to give it. Yeah, I don't think she's winning that belt. That would be awful. She beats Lyra at SummerSlam in the blow-off and then loses it to Nikki fucking Bella. Yeah, that can't happen. That's just unacceptable. Larry Jester. 5 months of membership. Keep Sheamus and Rusev brawling until next week. Have a video of them. Have a video. Oh my God. Have a video of them brawling at Cracker Barrel. Rusev eating an omelet and Sheamus throws a biscuit at him. So basically just go full on comedy with it. You may as well. At least make it entertaining, right? Sheamus is always asking the question, are you not entertained? Why not? Is it a safe bet that Cena headlines the Hall of Fame this coming year? Nothing is a safe bet. It all depends on his schedule. You know, Batista never really got his proper induction. We're still waiting on that, right? I mean, it all depends on his projects and whether or not he's available or not. Nothing is guaranteed. We're still waiting on Batista. We're still waiting on Rock. Emperor Comet. Name 3 wrestlers to face Gunther in the fight pit. Ooh, Sheamus. Definitely get those 2 in the fight pit. So Sheamus for sure. I mean, Brock is back, right? Brock and Gunther, I guess. That's a no-brainer. In the fight pit. That probably won't end well for Gunther, though. And a third one? God, in the fight pit. It's a good question. I don't know. I don't know who the third one should be. Who should the third one be? El Grande Americano. But it's Ludwig Kaiser under the mask. So we get Gunther and Kaiser in the fight pit. Did Triple H offer Brock a turn on Steph? This is from Hugh G. Rection. Did Triple H offer Brock a turn on Stephanie if he signed? I don't know. In this company, nothing would shock me. Maybe he did. We got Abyssal Zones. If Punk were smart, he'd have cost Seth the match. You know what? That's very true. He's an idiot. He's an idiot. CM Punk is a moron. You're right. He could have turned it right back around on Seth and cost him the championship tonight. The Mount Vernon kid, Christopher Bennett, 39 months of channel membership, says, every time Bronson steals sneakers, all I think of is the scene from the movie Last Action Hero. No take his shoes, man. Oh my God, Last Action Hero. God, I haven't seen that since the first time I saw it when it came out. When did that movie come out? 97? Was it 97? It was a long time ago. Lost Dill. If Rollins only told Becky and Heyman, then which one let it slip? Someone reported the injury angle. I don't remember who. Well, obviously, that's not true. He's just saying that for dramatic effect. My guess is it was kept to Nick Khan, Levesque. Of course, you got to let Travis Scott know, and you got to let The Rock know, and then Becky, and then Heyman. I'm sure the group was very small. It was not just 2 people, though. Oh wow, Last Action Hero was even earlier, 1993. Death Scythe. All honesty, Mario and Sonic are my childhood heroes, and my first game consoles were Sega Mega Drive and the Nintendo 64. Yeah. Mine were the Atari 2600, I think. Was it 2600 and 5700? And then the original Nintendo, and then Game Boy, and then Genesis, and then Game Gear, and SNES. Havili. What's up, Solo? It meant to say that the BSK gave the Click Oh, is that say again? It's cut off. I'm sorry. Save the click from a bar fight. I saw on Wikipedia that Crown Jewel is going to be champion versus champion. Nobody knows yet. Crown Jewel previously was champion against champion, but they may change that this year. We don't know. Nothing's been announced officially. Larry Jester says Sonic is a jerk. Mario's a nice guy. He finishes last. Meanwhile, Luigi, he just walked into his room and he's got 4 ladies in there waiting for him. So that's how Luigi does it. Pisco 95 buy, sell, rent on these 2025 matches. Seth against Punk against Roman at WrestleMania 41. Cody against Cena at SummerSlam. And Sami against Owens unsanctioned match. Well, I mean, I would buy on all of them because they were all great matches. But me personally, I would go probably the triple threat, and then Cody, Cena, and then Sami and Owens. So probably in the order that you listed it. But I guess I'll make that decision when I do my end of the year list, and we'll see if any of these matches make my final list. And finally here, A Boogie says Brock versus Oba Femi in the fight pit. It's not going to be the fight pit, but at some point, who knows? We might get Brock and Oba. I'm going to say probably not on that, but I mean that would be an interesting match. It would be interesting. So we are currently, they did announce it officially in a commercial. What did they announce? So they announced Crown Jewel will be champion against champion. Great. Wonderful. I don't know why they do that shit. So it's just so unnecessary. Oh, whatever. Anyway, you guys hit the goal for Be the Booker. In excess of 500 likes. We have a Adonix 96. Can you name 3 matches from Backlash 2018? From Backlash 2018, was that the show that had Seth and Miz for the Intercontinental title? I remember that being a really good match. But I think that's the only one I can name. Backlash 2018. Yeah, that might be, if I'm right on that, that might be the only one I can remember. Buy or sell, Bailey, This Is Your Life, Bobby Lashley's sisters, carpool with Vince or Ric Flair. I don't want to carpool with either one of them. So I'm going to sell on that one. I'm going to rent Bobby's sisters and buy on Bailey, This Is Your Life. All of this, by the way, was absolute garbage. Just for the record. All of it was terrible. Joe and Roman. That was on Backlash, huh? See, Seth and Miz, I was right. Jeff Hardy against Orton, U.S. title. Yeah, I have no memory of that. I have no memory of that whatsoever. Honestly, that whole period of WWE 2018 and 2019 was just fucking awful. The less said about that, the better. Let's be the Booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the Booker.
Let's wash away the memories of 2018 and book our own Backlash. We're going to book our own Backlash card tonight. It's only going to have 3 matches. I'm going to beat Triple H, right? You're going to have 4 matches. I'm only going to have 3. Beat that. And I'm putting the Young Bucks on my Backlash card. The Young Bucks against the Hardy Boys. Look at this. It's the Hardys and then the team that I always looked at as the Hardy wannabes back when they first started. It was the Hardys and the Hardleys. But now they've carved out their own niche. Hardys and the Young Bucks. It's a fine way to kick off Be the Booker. I'm going to open the show with that. We're going to open the show with that match. That's what we're going to do. And our women's match is going to include Sky Blue. We got any Sky Blue fans here? Sky Blue. It's going to be taking on... Oh, man. I forgot her name. I forgot this woman's fucking name. I thought it would come to me. What is her name? Lacey Evans. Okay, I knew that. I was really struggling. I was like, God, I mean, like, I know who she is, but like her name just escaped me. That's how insignificant she is in my mind. That's how insignificant in my wrestling brain that woman is. All right, main event time. We have the Animal. Batista. Don't make fun of me now. Forgetting my own roster. I put this together. Batista against Batista. We got ourselves, ladies and gentlemen, a mirror match. A rare sighting of a mirror match. Batista versus Batista in Be the Booker. And just for shits and giggles, let's find out what kind of a match Batista is going to have with himself. The brother is going to play with himself, but in what kind of match? A Monsters Ball match. Boy, that's not going to end well for Batista. Do the Batista, everybody. Let's do the Batista. You know who would book Batista against Batista? Vince Russo. Vince Russo has struck again. Let's go through these final super chats here. We have Retro KOH. How do you do champion versus champion and still call the WWE title undisputed? It's very clearly disputed with 2 world titles. Brother, I've been saying that since they brought the World Heavyweight Championship back. How is the WWE title still undisputed? Nobody has been able to answer this for me. Nobody's been able to give me a sufficient answer. Yeah, you know, I would not be placing any bets with FanDuel or DraftKings or MyBookie on who wins between Batista and Batista. Havili says, if Cena didn't announce that he's retiring, would he still face Cody at WrestleMania 41 or face someone else? You forgot SummerSlam 07 in New Jersey. Oh, that was in New Jersey too? Okay. Well, then that's the worst one because I don't remember a fucking thing from that show. Yeah, that's definitely not a favorite of mine. But yeah, so would he be facing Cody? Yes, I think the Cody match would have happened. I think Cody always wanted to work with Cena. So I think regardless, they were always going to do that match. And Libido Bell, buy or sell Pandemic Raw or 2018 Raw. I will always go with Raw with a crowd. I cannot go with Pandemic Raw. I actually have no interest in even going back and watching those Pandemic shows. Maybe in 20 years, I'll be morbidly curious to go back and check it out. And there were some good shows, but just I can't. Wrestling is not meant to be held in an empty warehouse or in a Thunderdome. It sucks. It just sucks. So as bad as 2018 Raw was, I would still buy on 2018 Raw. I cannot buy on those Pandemic shows. Death Scythe says Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny versus Mario and Sonic. Who wins? Mario and Sonic, of course. They're going to murder the other two. Mario and Sonic all the way. SummerSlam 07 had Triple H returning against King Booker. Oh, well. Gee, my answer doesn't change. Now I can confidently say that show is dead last on my list of New Jersey SummerSlams. You know what was great, though? I will say this. Like, I first started doing the weekly streams, right? The weekly Raw streams came later after Vince left the first time. Because even up until a few years ago, I was still basically reviewing Raw or doing kind of like a Raw overview the following Sunday, right? That's how dedicated my listeners were. They would wait a whole 6 or 7 days for me to review Raw from the previous week. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. That's how bad Raw got. But the weekly streams, really, I didn't start doing that until like the pandemic. I mean, this channel's been around forever, but I wasn't utilizing it in that way. When the pandemic happened, then everybody was basically, forced to shelter in place, and that whole period played itself out. I do look back fondly on that period, though, because that's when I really started doing the weekly, the live streams. And we built up a nice community here where, we were able to hang out every week, and I think we had fun with it. And same thing with Dynamite. Dynamite had started the end of 2019. I started reviewing Dynamite from day one. But then going into their first full year, like Dynamite hadn't even been on the air for a full 6 months when the pandemic hit. So like they really got fucked. I remember they were supposed to do that first Blood and Guts in Newark like 2 weeks after everything got shut down. And it just completely just screwed everything up. But just being able to kind of hang out with you guys every single week during that whole experience was fun for me. Hopefully it was for you too, but it was fun for me. I do look back on that, like those shows that we did, fondly. It's like I have these memories from that period where it's like, well, at least we have this community that we built up, and we're able to hang out and enjoy these shows despite all the shit that's going on in the world and everything. And so for that, I look back fondly on that period. Pisco, buy, sell, rent on these matches. Io versus Rhea versus Bianca at WrestleMania. Io versus Rhea at Evolution. And Toni Storm against Mercedes Moné. I don't know. Again, when I do my list at the end of the year, this is all going to change. But in the moment right now, you asked me that question. I'm going the triple threat at WrestleMania. I'm going Io and Rhea at Evolution. And then I'm going Toni and Mercedes at All In. And I think Toni and Mercedes at All In was the best women's match that AEW's ever done. And it's still only number 3 on that list. Duff's Vids. Why did the Avon lady walk funny? Her lipsticks. I think you botched your own joke. That doesn't make any sense. I think you meant talk funny. You would have got it. You would have had it. Why did the Avon lady talk funny? Because her lipsticks. And then I would have been like, But you said walk funny. And that doesn't make any sense. Oh, shit. All right. I understand it now. Oh, he was talking about the wrong lips. Oh, my God. But, you know, you've corrupted me. You really have. You guys have corrupted me. I'm just a nice little boy thinking he's talking about her lips on her face. Terrible. You're ruining my innocence. I'm like, man, you botched the joke. And I'm like, no, I botched it. Retro KOH. I remember one of the first videos you ever uploaded here, even before I knew of your podcast. It was from 2008. Something about every WrestleMania up to WrestleMania 23. I found it by total accident. I think that might have been the first video I ever uploaded. There were two of them, actually. I had all the WrestleMania logos on the screen, and they would light up each time I would talk about one. And I sped up my voice a little bit. I sound like the Micro Machines guy. And it was my like WrestleMania crash course. And I give a little kind of description about each WrestleMania. So that it should still be up. And that's from a long time ago, though. That's from like the very beginning. Keep Brother Solo as an angel, as angelic as possible. Yes, yes. Come on now, you're ruining my innocence here. I will be with you on Wednesday night for the Dynamite post show. I hope you will be too. You don't even have to watch AEW. Come hang out anyway. Friday night is going to be a big SmackDown. First SmackDown coming out of SummerSlam. John Cena will be there. We'll see who else shows up. Tomorrow night, Tuesday Night Titans over on JD's channel. That'll be live at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. So you're getting a lot of content. You're getting a lot of me coming up this week. Go back and check out episode 923 of The Sound Off. It went up yesterday. It might have been lost in all the noise of SummerSlam, but it's a full show. A lot of good stuff on there. So whatever you're doing tomorrow, if you're working out, if you're commuting, if you're just hanging around the house, go check out the podcast. Be well. Stay safe. Thank you for all the love. After this awful attempt at corrupting me here, I'm going to go watch an episode of Care Bears. And I will see you back here on Wednesday night for the Dynamite review. Until then, take care, guys.